Hello there, Cassandra. How are you doing today? I hope you're feeling well, and I hope that you are ready for this horoscope / tarot reading. We're going to look at 5 aspects of your birth chart, which I have right in front of me, and we're going to discuss those 5 traits and pull some cards for each for guidance. These 5 traits, I think they stand out to me the most. These include the 3 base traits, that are included in the basic horoscope reading that I offer: the sun, the moon, and the rising sign, but also the Saturn and Jupiter in your chart, which those 2 planets are very, very significant, and they have a lot to say, in your case, about how you view yourself and how you view your career. These 2 are very important in your chart. So we're going to get started with the first aspect, the sun sign, which in your case is to be found in the sign of Cancer and in the 7th house. So the sun represents the core structure of the personality. It is the base layer of who you are at your core. And Cancer is a very nurturing, very gentle, and very emotional sign. So at your core, even if the exterior, because that's Capricorn, a very heavy, energetically heavy earth sign, Capricorn, even if, your exterior might seem like you're kind of unapproachable a little bit and very focused on your goals, at your core, you seem to be very vulnerable and very empathetic towards others, because the sun sign is in the 7th house. The 7th house deals with partnerships, marriages, relationships in general. So even in that aspect of you, which the sun sign refers to who you are at your core, we have a heavy influence of the 7th house, a heavy focus on other people. So I would say that in terms of your identity, caring about others, nurturing others, being generous towards others is one of the core themes here. And you're not afraid to have your ego challenged by other people, or even if you are afraid to do it, your life path is leading you towards those kinds of situations. And also, moving on to the moon sign, which is the second aspect that I wanted to talk about, which is in the sign of Aquarius, in the 1st house. The moon sign deals with that layer of ourselves, that more intimate, vulnerable layer of our personality that we rarely show to the outside world. It is who we are in our relationships, at our most vulnerable. And that is in the 1st house, the house of identity, the house of self. So we're seeing how there's an interesting dynamic between the 1st and the 7th house, the house of the ego and the house of the relationship with others. It's as if the roles are kind of mixed, and the moon, which would feel a lot better in the 7th house, it's placed in the 1st house. So there's always this difficult relationship, trying to place yourself in connection with others, having to stand up for yourself, having to analyze other people's feelings and reactions. Aquarius is very analytical. It's an air sign. And so that is indicating to me that in those moments when you are especially vulnerable, you're choosing it to be more rational as perhaps a defense mechanism, perhaps a way of coping. And it's just your strategy to try to break it down, to try to have a very matter-of-fact outlook in these situations. But nevertheless, Aquarius is focused on being fair and making sure that everybody benefits from a situation. So even then, your focus is on creating win-win situations. Moving on to the ascendant, the rising sign, which is in the sign of Capricorn, a very stern and strict earth sign. It's possible that you are perceived as kind of unapproachable. People find it difficult to let their guard down when they are around you, because Capricorn represents this very disciplined, very strict, earthy energy, very authoritative. So even though on the inside you might be a lot softer than you seem, to an outside observer at first glance, especially because the rising sign is how you appear to other people. It's your mask that you wear. Capricorn can come across as kind of cold and aloof in certain situations. Now, let's look at your 10th house. The 10th house is the house of career, your calling in life, your work. And in this house we have Saturn in the sign of Scorpio. Now, this is telling me that you are very much focused on your career. Saturn is the planet of disciplined action. It's the planet of work and getting ahead slowly, methodically, and receiving benefits from life based on your effort. So it's a meritocracy that is being promoted by Saturn. So there's no handouts. It's hard work and diligence that is being the central theme of Saturn. Now, Scorpio is a water sign, highly intuitive and highly focused on the theme of life and death and regeneration. So your work is centered around resurrecting, regenerating, renewing, and rebirthing these cycles of something dying, being phased out, and then given new life. So it is also possible that you have started multiple new careers in your life, that you have these cycles of wearing a certain career path out and starting a new one, or doing that sort of thing within your career. At any rate, this seems to be a very pivotal point in your chart. Saturn seems to be placed here to show us that this is incredibly important to you, your career, and it is your key to learning in life and becoming better. And also Jupiter, which is the planet of growth, is also placed in the sign of Capricorn, which again, Capricorn would be associated with the 10th house. Capricorn is the career-focused, the most career-focused sign, I guess I should say. And that's in the first house. So besides your career, it is also of significance to you to develop yourself, to have a very disciplined approach towards growing your own skills and representing yourself in this world with authority. So you're not taking things lightly. This chart in front of me does not look like a person who is taking things very lightly. You don't seem like you like to just wing it. And actually, since Jupiter is the planet of luck, Jupiter is in the first house in Capricorn, is telling me that luck is with you when you're taking yourself seriously, when you're methodical and you have realistic plans, and when you accept that you need to take responsibility and represent authority. So let's have one card for each of these aspects now. So let's start with Sun in the 7th house in the sign of Cancer. So these cards will give you some advice on how to navigate and how to bring out the best in you in regards to these aspects. Aquarius in the 1st house, in the moon, the Aquarius moon in the 1st house. Capricorn rising. Saturn in the sign of Scorpio in the 10th house. And Jupiter in the sign of Capricorn in the 1st house. All right. So let's see. The Fool for your Sun in the 1st house. Cancer Sun in the 1st house. Then we have the 6 of Cups for your Aquarius moon. We have Temperance for your Capricorn rising. All right. Saturn in the sign of Scorpio in the 10th house, the Queen of Wands. And finally, Jupiter in the sign of Capricorn in the 1st house, the 3 of Cups. All right. So all of these cards, even though I told you that I'm seeing you based on your chart as someone who is very serious about life and very dependable, very organized. These cards are inviting you to be more spontaneous. So all of these cards, what they have in common is that they promote an attitude of letting go. Now, that's not always easy to do, especially if you feel like in your career, for example, a lot depends on you. And if you let go, if you relax, a lot of bad things can happen. You can miss important things. But nevertheless, all 5 of these cards are pointing in the direction of a more laid-back attitude, just to see what happens if you do that. Let's look at the first card, the first aspect. Your Sun in the sign of Cancer. And finally, my camera was able to focus as well. Nice. So your Cancer Sun in the 7th house. We have the Fool here. The Fool is asking you to consider that you are not supposed to be a master, that you're not supposed to know everything, that you are not supposed to be prepared for everything all the time. The Fool's archetypal message is that we are ignorant as human beings. And even when we think that we know a lot, that is an illusion. And what we're really doing is we're walking towards our respective abysses, because he's walking towards an abyss. And the only reason we're protected is it's by the grace of God that we are safe. So, especially with the Fool, we have this very, very strong message for you of letting go. Even if your instinct, since you're a Cancer sun, your instinct is to protect and nurture and sometimes baby other people, because Cancer has this tendency to be kind of maternal, and your identity seems to be very heavily focused on or dependent on how well you can correspond to other people's needs. And so that preoccupation, the Fool is suggesting, should be put on hold, at least for a while. So this is the guidance for you to let go of that anxiety, that worry for a little bit. It might seem to you as though if you're not pleasing others, if you're not responding to other people's needs, then your ego, your identity is at risk of falling apart. But truthfully, and this is what the Fool is communicating here very clearly, you don't know what other people need, really. You don't know what other people could really be benefiting from. So letting go of that role of always caring and nourishing, caring for and nourishing other people, and basing your identity around that, it could be a big step forward, a big step towards freedom, a big step towards resolving this this sort of dichotomy that exists between the first and the seventh house. If you remember, I showed you how your moon and your sun sign are kind of opposed there. Now, when it comes to the moon sign, the Six of Cups, it's telling me that this is exactly the direction that you should be going, allowing yourself to be more like a child. The Six of Cups speaks about that innocent, raw, pure emotional state that children are in, that children can experience and convey, that pure love and trust in the universe, in their surroundings, that it is their right. And when a child doesn't get to experience that, that's very sad. But hopefully you've had a chance in your childhood to experience that, so you have that experience to draw upon in your quest of becoming less responsible for other people's feelings. So this is this is what is coming to me now. Your entire chart seems to be very much centered around your responsibilities, what you can do for other people, and your duty. You have a very conscientious spirit, And the distinction I'm seeing here that could be very useful to you is seeing what is professional duty and what is your perceived duty, emotional duty in a situation. We have 2 cups cards here. Both of those are emotion-based, water-based cards. So a lot of this advice here comes down to differentiating between what it means to be a professional, what it means to act in a dependable way versus responding to people's emotional needs that should not be your responsibility. That should not be your role to respond to those needs. So the 6 of Cups is allowing yourself to regress, allowing yourself to be in the position of the child, being connected with the inner child, and experiencing that joy and that safe, secure feeling that comes from being loved for who you are. There's nothing to figure out necessarily. It seems as though you're approaching your intimate relationships as if they were riddles to solve, as if they were an equation that you need to solve. Not necessarily. The 6 of Cups is encouraging you to take a step back and relax and allow yourself to be a child every once in a while in these interactions. Temperance showing up for your Capricorn rising. As I've mentioned, Capricorn can be an extremely responsible and serious sign. Capricorn is all about hierarchies and being accountable and working hard to get ahead. Now, Temperance, which is a major arcana card, that has to do with moderation and patience and healing. This card is asking you to be less hard, not only on yourself, but also on others. The rising sign is kind of turned outward, It's your armor, your mask. It's how you conduct yourself, how you get around in the world. And Temperance is asking you to take it a little easy, to take it easy on others, not only on yourself but also others, to quell some of the anxieties that people can have around you. Maybe you're not even aware of this, but you can be sort of intimidating to others, and other people might get the impression that you're expecting a lot out of them, which could be true since you're also expecting a lot out of yourself. So you're very hard on yourself, and that is reflected in the way you treat others. So Temperance is asking you to do some healing work around that. Maybe you don't have to save the day. Maybe you don't have to be a hero all the time. Maybe you don't have to take on huge responsibilities all the time. Every now and then it's okay, but it seems to be like your personality is very much centered around this idea of I have to do everything by myself because other people are useless, basically. Because if I don't do it, it's never gonna get done. So Temperance is asking you to do this in moderation. It's okay to have some of this happen every now and then, but it is also nice if you give other people a chance to prove themselves and also to give them a chance to make mistakes without necessarily judging them so much. So less judgment for other people also means less judgment for yourself. So we're connecting how you treat yourself with how you treat others, and there's a positive feedback that can happen here that can foster a healthier relationship with yourself, where there's less demand, less of a demanding attitude towards yourself. Now, when it comes to the 10th house, your career, we have the Queen of Wands showing up. The Queen of Wands is suggesting to me that your career is really, really important to you. It is important to have, to be recognized, to be appreciated at your workplace. And chances are that you have managed to create a situation where you really are appreciated, and your popularity, your charisma is being recognized. It's being celebrated and appreciated. So the Queen of Wands, it's basically about enjoying this natural high hierarchical status that you have created for yourself. So instead of constantly worrying about how you can advance and how you can become even more competent and more respected at your workplace and in your profession, the Queen of Wands is simply asking you to enjoy and notice how much people appreciate you. The Queen of Wands is saying you're already there. You are already it. It's more about noticing and enjoying and being a part of, feeling the excitement and the positive effects of being appreciated that way, rather than doing anything extra to improve, to become better. So really, I think these cards are saying improvement does not necessarily come from investing more work in your case. It's more about just relaxing into it a little bit, just taking some time to have a look around and see what you have accomplished already. Now, the last card, the Three of Cups, it's asking you to put more of an emphasis on how you connect with other people. The Three of Cups is this card of an emotional exchange, the interactions that happen between people, how they can lift one another up, how in a spontaneous and joyful moment you can experience this sort of spiritual elevation, working with others, allowing other people's emotional energy to affect you. And when I say that, I mean noticing and allowing other people to like you, to love you. And I think this is the main message here, really. It's more about noticing and less about doing. It's more about feeling and less about acting. Your luck is going to be activated when you find a way to connect with other people on an emotional level, when you find a way to be more emotionally open and communicative with others. That's the best way to think about your growth, the growth of your identity as well. it's not going to happen by itself. You on your own might not be able to figure things out, but allowing other people to interact with you, to get to know you, and to fill you in. You have some blank spots, probably, or blind spots, rather, that only other people can show you. And especially when it comes to emotions, you will be filled in, you will be informed emotionally if you allow other people to do so. And that's where you're going to find your luck. It's where you will find expansion and growth. And really, what I'm getting from all of these cards is that this really does not come down to more work, more effort, more thinking. It comes down to more feeling, more openness, more flexibility. Allowing a spontaneous connection to form with other people, and using that as a mirror to look at yourself and learn more about yourself. So I hope that you enjoy this reading, Cassandra. Thank you very much for supporting me and my channel. And I hope to see you in another reading. Bye-bye.